Okay, so we're ready for our last page in our review. Number 23, MATH is an isosceles trapezoid. We could tell that also because we have a pair of base angles that are congruent. So we've got isosceles trapezoid, and we see that segment AT is going to be parallel to segment MH, another property of trapezoid. If angle M over here is going to be 3x minus 9, and we're told that angle H over here is going to be x plus 3, we want to find the measurement of angle H. So this will be a pretty simple, easy one to go through. We know that they are congruent, therefore they are going to be set equal to each other. So we'll have our 3x minus 9 is equal to x plus 3. Go ahead, pause, solve for x, and then go ahead and substitute it in. This can be pretty basic, straightforward, and we'll see if we get the right answer. We're going to have 2x minus 9 is equal to 3. Then we're going to wind up with 2x is equal to 12. So x is going to equal 6. So the measure of angle H was simply just x plus 3. So we'll substitute in that 6. And we find the measurement of angle H, add those together, is simply 9. Now the next series of questions are going to be talking about our different properties. So we're going to go through these and take a look. Number 24 is asking which statement is not true. So we need to pay attention to those words not. So we're looking at what is not true for a parallelogram. Okay. So we're not getting specifics. We're talking about 5 different properties here that we've learned about parallelograms. We have that the diagonals are perpendicular. Well, I'm thinking that one might not be true. So I'm going to keep looking just in case there are more than one answer, because here our diagonals are not perpendicular on just a regular parallelogram. B says consecutive angles are supplementary. Well, we learned that they are supplementary. Opposite angles are congruent, and your opposite sides are congruent. So in this case, we just had one answer. Number 25, which figure does not have both pairs of opposite sides parallel? So look at does not have both pairs of opposite sides parallel. Well, rhombus is a parallelogram, and it does have both pairs, because that's a property of a parallelogram. Trapezoid is not a parallelogram. Trapezoid only has one pair of opposite sides parallel. So no, that's going to be an answer choice. A rectangle is also a parallelogram, so therefore it will have both pairs of opposite sides parallel. And, well, a parallelogram is a parallelogram. So we only have one answer on that one. Number 26, which statement is true? A square is always a parallelogram. Well, a square does fall under the parallelogram category, so this is a correct answer. All trapezoids are parallelograms. Well, trapezoids, if you remember that flow chart, do not fall under the parallelogram category. They're in their own category under quadrilaterals. So that one's not true. All squares are rhombuses, which technically that should be rhombi, but no big deal. Well, squares is at the very, very bottom of under the parallelogram. A square is parallelogram. It's a rhombus. It is a rectangle. It is all of those. So we have another correct answer here. And then all rhombi are rectangles. Well, if you look at your flow chart, when you get to parallelogram, the rhombus goes to one direction and this rectangle goes to the other direction. So the only thing they have in common is that they're both parallelograms. So a rhombus is not a rectangle. So there are 2 correct answers. 27, a quadrilateral with 4 congruent sides. There's an important thing right there. 4 congruent sides. An angle measures 60 degrees must be A. Well, a parallelogram does not have congruent sides. A square does. A rhombus does. A rectangle does not have 4 congruent sides. So we take a look at the square and the rhombus. It's not going to be both of them. We need to remember that a square has all right angles. And 60 is not a right angle, so it cannot be square. So we have a rhombus. Number 28, we're talking about this picture over here. We want to explain the figure on the right is a parallelogram and to justify your answer. Well, A is saying it's a parallelogram because there are two pairs of congruent sides. I only see one pair of congruent sides. So, nope. It's a parallelogram because each pair of opposite angles is congruent. There's nothing about angles at all on here, so we cannot use that as as our reasoning. Parallelogram because the diagonals bisect each other. Well, where are the diagonals? We don't have any, so we can't use that. We're not adding and drawing things onto the picture. It's a parallelogram because has one pair of congruent parallel sides. So if you look here, we have congruent and parallel. So they are both parallel and congruent, and it only says one pair. So this is our correct answer. Okay? Number 29, same thing. Let's look at that picture. It's going to have, I believe, the same answer choices here. Two pairs of congruent sides. Again, only one pair of sides is marked congruent. We can't just go mark the other one's congruent. So we can't use that. Each pair of opposite angles is congruent. I don't see angles marked congruent. Can't do that. Diagonals bisect each other on C. Again, no diagonals are drawn. We can't use that. D is talking about the one pair of congruent and parallel sides. Well, we have one pair of sides that are congruent, but it does not say that they're parallel, so we can't use that. So, unfortunately, E, we do not have enough information to conclude that this is a parallelogram.